garden house, as it says. Top button. That's a point. Go. Go. Essentially a power station. So we're pumping, it's generating 100 kilowatts of power. This is like a brief we've never received before, so somebody with money. 100 kilowatts of power, pumping energy back into the grid. The client is a CEO of Beyond Zero, and it's that's Aiton in the house, and it was used as one of the case studies for this New York Times article, saying that it's interesting living in a conservative political environment where you have a government that's just propping up fossil fuel, and yet Australia is seen as this amazing example of democratising green energy. And you just look at the energy markets now, that we're getting this huge slump in green energy costs, and it's because of not only people that have money, but also just having a solar industry that anybody can really afford putting roof tiles on. So it's a power station. This fucking thing annoys me. Anyway, the fun stuff. So you can see what we've done. We've been polite to the neighbours. This is this idea that I really love about being... it's that Sesame Street song. One of these things is not like the other one, and hiding in plain sight. But different to a lot of our houses, where I'm really obsessed with the sort of the Dutch way of living, that you and clients, enjoy the process of going on that journey of getting people to engage with their community. So pulling down front fences and making really transparent homes where people can control their level of privacy, but they're not closed off from the neighbours. But this was a very different proposition, partly because of the Teslas that they're obsessed with, but also because of the unique nature of this block. Again, being one of these things is not like the other one. It looks like it's just another terrace block, but it's actually this big battle axe block, for which nobody knows why this has happened. We did a bit of research, we couldn't find out. And then there's this council laneway down one side, which meant that instead of doing the ubiquitous long corridor down a terrace house with past bedrooms and toilets, we could actually deliver people right into the centre of the site, and then have a much more nuanced way of dealing with circulation into and around the site. And this was the first diagram that I came up with. We worked really hard with an arborist to work out structural root zones, because there was a very significant garden, so we wanted this thing to weave through. And just like we all do when we have clients with money, we try to design something really little, and they just more, and they get bigger and bigger. So there was always this pressure on the garden, which we desperately tried to protect. Stacking everything to the south, facing north, passive solar gain, big garden. And he works from home, so a big office, which led to, in part, to the size of this house. It's the biggest thing we've ever done. Granny flat out the back with kids' bedrooms over, kitchen, living, dining, services at the back, and then you've got the two-storey office and the workshop and the car. And I'll get back to the bikes, which are great. And then just different circulation in the way that you tackle this, all coming off this central hub. So Council Laneway, we ended up putting recycled bricks in there. So at any time, council would come along and asphalt that if they really want to, if they want to be pricked. And we put fluted glass for the front door. And you've got all this borrowed landscape. There's trees that are on the site, but also borrowed landscape. So it looks like this is where the house finishes, and the two-storey office at the back there. But in fact, when you go through that front door, that's where you're presented with much more of the garden, and then the house all being off to the south, around one side. So playing with this idea of, am I inside the building yet? And then using the recycled brick here again, so it feels like, am I still outside with the paving? The entry coming through there, and then the two-storey office space. So it's, as we do a lot, trying to get something big and break it down into lots of little domestic scales. That was the view that we had before, looking through that glass. You've got your living space with always a mirrored splashback that we do, so you get this reflection of garden on what is the south side, hiding all the services. Master bedroom above, dining space, vertical circulation, a little lounge. And then where the circulation spaces are, that's where we've got mirrored glass. So we're, again, like the kitchen splashback, we're reflecting gardens, or it feels much bigger. We're also reflecting the sun. And then we've got these big helmets where we've got huge roller blinds that come down automatically to protect it from too much sun. And then the final pavilion, which is kids' bedrooms and the granny flat downstairs. But always working around the trees. again, the pressure that we got to where it's just like, how big do, Mel said it, how big do kids' bedrooms need to be? Really? But, you know, people want these huge spaces, but always protecting the trees. And this is a multi-generational house as well, but it's not like the ones we've done before, where it's kids helping elderly parents. The economics has completely changed. Like, that's what we did in Charles' house, the granny flat at the end. The whole, you know, we all know about unaffordability, or lack of affordability. So we're now in this age where we've got elderly parents that need to house adult children. That's not the case in this one. The kids are quite young, but this is something, I guess it's like Rem Koolhaas says, there's two lives of a building. There's the one imagined, then there's the one lived in, and they're never the same thing. But we like the idea that in the future, this can very easily become a series of homes. So there's already the granny flat. There's quite a big house here. The office can be converted into its own home with its own entry. The granny flat's got its own circulation, so you don't have to come through this one. And then this space has its own door as well. That could, you know, that would require substantial renovation, but you could actually break it down as we deal more and more with affordability issues. The boring but cool stuff, am I allowed to say that? Like, seriously, this one is so pimped out. So passive solar, external blinds, double studded, so continuous circulation instead of thermal bridging. 50% fly ash in the concrete, recycled bricks everywhere, retain most of the garden. 10 to 15 degree heat variation without, over lengthy periods, without heating or cooling. So this thing just stays so stable, fossil fuel free, incredibly efficient heat pump that's running everything, so hot water, space heating, hydronic, pool, induction of course. 17 kilowatts of solar producing 100 kilowatts a day, 26 kilowatt battery. So this is a self-powered house. But not only that, the Teslas are running off the battery, so that their cars are free. They don't pay for fuel, ever. But this bit that I love, bikes, the most sustainable form of transport. If you've got to get a bike out of a garage and go past a car, you never bloody use the thing. So it's got its whole end-of-trip facility with these, you know, a keyless door that opens up. So I use bikes a lot. But probably my favourite thing is that it's all about the garden. It's not about a central living space. And as you move through the house, you're presented with the garden and you go, oh, I think I know what it is. And then we deny you the view, and then you go to a different place and look down on it or up at it. Always with a different relationship, but all centred around that garden. Thanks.